Welcome to Powerplayers in Business and Life with Adrienne Richardson, the show where brilliant leaders in business share powerful insider secrets and strategies to succeeding in life and business. Now, here's your host, Adrienne.
Hey everyone, I'm your host, Adrienne Richardson, founder of the Powerplayers in Business and Life podcast, where I get the honor of interviewing fascinating, big-hearted people who have brilliant minds. And today I want to tell you about a very special guest that I have for you, and that is Emily Williams. She is a success coach, entrepreneur, and author with a seven-figure business who at one point couldn't get a job at Starbucks. After experiencing a quarter-life crisis, she moved from Ohio to London, where she knew no one, and in 2014 launched her business, I Heart My Life. She made $442 in her first month, but then went on to hit six figures in 6 months before her 30th birthday. She grew it to seven figures in just 18 months. Today, she works with female entrepreneurs all over the world, helping them bust through the obstacles that hold their dreams and goals hostage so they can free themselves to live the lives they want, build their own online business, and hit their money goals. She's been featured all over the place in Money Magazine, Entrepreneur, Business Insider, Forbes, Success Magazine. And I know Emily from way back in 2014. We worked together when we were both newer to business. So it's really, really exciting to have her on the show today and to talk about growth and transformation in not just herself, but in her clients. And so Emily, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, like I mentioned, you've got quite a story of just, kind of having challenges, but pushing through them, going after what you wanted. And I'd love to kind of talk a little bit more about how you got started in this online business space.
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to have my own business, but like a lot of people, I had no idea what that would look like. I grew up with entrepreneurs all around me. My dad and my grandpas all had businesses. And again, it was something I always thought I would do as well. But at some point, I decided to follow the kind of normal path. And I went to school, got a degree in psychology, and thought my next step would be to get my master's. And so I applied to 12 schools around the United States and literally went to visit all of them and decided on Northwestern in Chicago. And when was it? August 2008, I was driving to Chicago to find an apartment in the city. And I got this feeling in the pit of my stomach, like this wasn't the right next step for me. And my mom was driving the car and she looked over at me and saw that I was crying and asked me what was wrong. And I expressed to her that I just didn't think this was the right fit. And I didn't know why, but I just didn't think it was right. And so luckily in that moment, she understood and she turned the car around and we went back to Ohio. And from there, like you read, I tried to get jobs at random places like Starbucks, where I had to apply 3 times before I actually got a position. I worked at a hospital. I did babysitting, basically anything I could do. And during that time, I was basically feeling like a failure because I thought I had this whole path laid out for myself. I thought I had it all planned out. But as I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, sometimes life has other plans for us and it can feel very unsettling. And again, like I said, I just felt like I was a failure. I felt like I just had no clarity whatsoever. I remember one morning in particular, my dad came through the Starbucks drive-thru and he didn't even drink coffee. So he just came to see me and I was so embarrassed. And there's nothing wrong with working at Starbucks, but for me, I'd always envisioned so much more. But for the life of me, I just couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, so, I think it's really interesting what you said, like when you were in the car with your mom and you had this pit in your stomach and you just knew it wasn't the right thing. And I think that a lot of times in life, we get those signs, right? That either something should or shouldn't happen. And a lot of times we ignore them because we feel like, well, we're already too invested, right? You're like, oh, I applied to so many schools. I went and visited them. I was driving there. And for a lot of people, they will ignore that sign or whatever, that they feel like they've gotten, that they need to change paths or switch things around. And it's like, well, I'm already too deep in, right? I'm already too far in. I've already got too much time, money, whatever, invested to turn back. And so I find it really interesting that not not only did you kind of notice that and listen to it, but also your mom was supportive in that. And, that had to have been a hard decision after all the time and effort that you invested into that.
Oh yeah, I had made my parents go around the country with me looking at all these schools. And you're completely right. There was part of me that was like, this is crazy. You know that this could work. You know that it's a normal path. And so why don't you want this?
Mm-hmm.
And when I went back to Ohio, I just had to kind of face the fact that I was lost. But I also knew that my heart had led me to this place. And so I started to pay attention to what else it was trying to tell me to do. And another really random thought came to mind. I had this thought of, you know what, I really love to move to London. And I had visited London a few years prior when one of my friends was studying abroad there, and I fell in love with it. I had, again, another feeling like, oh my goodness, so this is such a special place. I could live here. I didn't tell anyone about it. I just kind of tucked it into my back pocket, but it started to resurface, and I just kept listening to that. And again, all the time, I was thinking I was crazy, but I just kept listening and finally decided, okay, well, I have nothing else, nothing really keeping me in Ohio. As much as I love my family, I know that it's not a place where I'm gonna stay forever. And so I'm just gonna move to London. So I applied for a master's in nonfiction writing because another thing I'd always wanted to do was write a book. And I got accepted into a school in the city and ended up packing up my bags a few years later. This was over a span of a few years, in August 2010, and moving to London, again, pretty much on a whim, just following my heart. Didn't know anyone who lived there, and started my life in the UK. So that whole period of 2 years was really a series of me following my heart and also learning to trust my intuition. And I think, that's what so many people miss. We miss the signs, or we push them away, or we think we're too far in. I couldn't switch gears. I couldn't change directions. All the while our intuition is trying to tell us something. And when we don't believe our intuition, then that creates mistrust within ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. And then it just spirals down where you lose confidence in yourself. You second guess everything you're doing. And so it's really important to listen to those things and notice those things very early on. So you moved to London, right? You moved to London, and what happens?
So moved to London in 2010, and I'll fast forward a little bit quicker here. I threw myself into the world of online dating, which is important. You'll hear in a second, and ended up meeting my husband online, my husband, James. And a few years after that, in April 2013, my friend sent me an email, and all it said was, "I thought you'd like this." And it was a link to Marie Forleo's website. And up until that time, I knew about coaching. My dad had always had business coaches, but they were like stuffy men in suits carrying little 3-ring binders. It wasn't anyone like Marie Forleo. And I'm sure your listeners know who she is. And she was just somebody who inspired me right away. And I, again, tuned into my intuition and felt like I could do what she was doing. And then, of course, all the thoughts came in like, oh, well, maybe she already has all the clients. Maybe there's no room for me. Maybe, her hair is amazing. And all these crazy thoughts came to mind in comparisons. And I ended up realizing that my niche, the people that I could help, were basically people who were just like me, people who had been through a quarter life crisis, had no idea what they wanted to do with their life, but still felt like they were meant for something big. And that's what the theme of all of this is. I always felt like I was meant for something big, but couldn't put my finger on it. Even when I moved to the UK, I was a nanny, I was an assistant, but there was still that inkling that I was meant for something big. So Marie really showed me what's possible. And from there, I started following that intuition, that gut instinct that I could do this coaching thing and actually make a difference.
Right. So, I think that everybody has specific skills, abilities, things about them that are unique that make them really good at what they do. And so you took this dive in, you started growing a coaching business. As I mentioned in the intro, you went from making $442 in 1 month to 6 months later and make 6 figures. What do you think are the key characteristics or skills that you had that allowed you to do that?
I think just getting started is one thing. So for so many people, they believe they're meant for something big. They have this idea, and yet, just like the intuition, they push it to the side or they deny. In my book, I talk about how we deny our something big. So I think me just being willing to say, you know what, I've been through all of this stuff. I really think I can help somebody else. And knowing that I don't have to have it all figured out, as long as I'm a step or two or even 5 ahead of my ideal client, that's enough for now. And I'll learn as I go along. I'll get better as I go along. I'll be able to help more people as I improve my skills and my, business grows. But I think the mistake a lot of people make is, number one, they don't even get started. And number two, they count themselves down and out, or they don't even attempt to qualify themselves as being capable to do something. And so they don't even try. That's really the first thing I think that all of us have to really do. And we have to channel that energy that right now I can do something. I'm good enough to at least start.
Yeah, I think that people get caught up in thinking, well, I need to get a college degree before I can help anybody, or I have to figure all of this out, or I have to go get a certification, or there's a lot of things that people believe has to happen before they can help others. And there's this book, I've mentioned it before in another podcast, that's called Start With Your People by Brian Dixon. And I love the book. And one of the things he says in there is he says that what comes easy to you, other people think is magic. And that really applies to what you just said. It's like when you're helping someone solve a problem, you don't necessarily have to have a bajillion certifications and all of these things. You just have to be ahead of where they're at and know how to solve their problem. And as you get better and better at solving that problem, obviously you'll move up and you'll learn more things, and you'll start to work with more other people as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember one of my clients telling me that she didn't even arrange her own wedding flowers at her wedding because she didn't think she was qualified to do so. She went out and she got a floral arrangement certification before she allowed herself to even attempt it. And I just think that's so interesting. And why do we feel like we need a piece of paper or a diploma to qualify ourselves? I have calls with clients all the time who literally have 20 years of experience doing something, but when they bring it into their own business, that's a totally other story. That's another story. They feel like they're not capable or they're not qualified to do it. And truly, it makes me so sad to see all of this untapped, unrealized potential out there.
Yeah. What do you see, when people come and they work with you and they want to be coaches, or they're already coaches and they want to grow their business? What do you see as like really common pitfalls or problems that you see just over and over again with the people that come into to your program that they have?
Well, funnily enough, one of the issues is money stories and certain money beliefs that are holding them back. And I say funnily enough because when I started I Heart My Life, the first month I made about $442, and I quickly realized I needed some support to go to the next level. And so I hired a coach and started a program. And one of the things she taught me was all about money stories and how we all have these beliefs and these operating systems that are running the show. And when we bring that information and that programming into our business, it most of the time doesn't serve us. And so the things that I see women struggling with, I work with women in particular, is the fear of selling, fear of putting themselves out there, fear of charging for their services, fear of having conversations around money, fear of looking too greedy, fear of what people think. So it all comes down to these judgments and these fears, and a lot of them have to do with money. And so one of the things I personally had to work through was all of my own money stuff. And because I did that, I was able to become an expert in that field and in that category. And that's one of the main things that we have to help women with in the beginning, because it's all well and good to say, hey, I have a program, or hey, I have a product I'm going to put out there. But if you're scared of selling, or if you innately feel that selling is wrong, you're going to stop yourself every time.
Yeah. So what are some of these money stories that women are telling themselves that make them afraid to put themselves out there or have those conversations?
Yeah. So one of them is that talking about money is icky or wrong. And I know I experienced this myself. There was a point in time where I literally went through 54 no's in a row. So 54 people said no to me on my sales calls. And the reason was because I didn't know how to take it deeper. I didn't know how to handle the objections that they were coming up with, because I felt wrong talking about money. These were literally strangers who just got on a call with me. How in the world could I talk to them about money? And I think this is one of the hangups that we definitely have. But when we make it normal to talk about money, then we can explore how people can find the money to fund what it is that they desire, instead of saying, okay, no problem, thanks for your time, bye, and ending the conversation there. So I actually believe it's in service to our clients to be able to have the money conversation, to be able to support them when they say, you know what, I don't have the money, but I'd love to do this program. I'd love to buy this product. Can you help me? And to be able to take it one step further. So number one, just being able to have the conversation. Number two, being able to charge for your services. I hear so many people, especially in the service-based industries, saying, well, I shouldn't be charging for helping people. And I'm like, yes, you should, because number one, you want to move your business forward, and that's not going to happen unless it's making money. And number two, people are far more invested in their own success and development when they have put down something on behalf of that progress. And when women especially make more money, we literally change the world. We transform lives, we transform our families' lives. And so it's imperative that you are charging for your services. So those are just two examples.
Yeah, what's important about what you said, and I agree with everything that you said, is when we look at, well, I shouldn't charge money to help other people. And I believe that we all have specific gifts, talents, abilities, or whatever, not just for the benefit of others, because it is for others. We're given those things in order to be able to help other people, but they're also to benefit ourselves. And so it goes both ways, right? Like your reward or whatever, like for lack of a better term, for being in service of others and doing for others, helping them solve a problem, is that you're paid for that. And obviously, we need to make money in order to pay our bills and live the life that we want to live, but we do that by being in service of others. And so I think it's a really important message for people to realize that it's not wrong for you to get paid for helping others. That is actually how and why you have that ability, is to help them and to also help yourself.
Exactly. And people have this fear that wanting a lot of money or having a lot of money is going to change them in a bad way. And I always say that money just magnifies who you already are. And so if you're a generous person, just imagine what you can do with $1 million or with $2 million or whatever. How would you change the world? How would you change your family's lives? And what we do at I Heart My Life is really get people connected to what they actually want. I don't care if you want to start a charity or you want to get a $24 million house. I really don't care. But my purpose is to support women in seeing that anything is possible. And that means actually admitting what it is that you desire and moving forward towards that and really showing up to create that reality. And again, it could be anything. It could be the new house. It could be more time with your kids. It could be the vacation. It could be giving back. It could be paying off your parents' mortgage. Whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. But I think we need to really own what it is that we actually want and what we're being called to do. Because again, it comes down to that whole piece around denial. So many people are in denial about what they want, and then they wonder why they're not happy.
Yes, so true. Another important thing that you mentioned earlier is you were saying, like, hey, I was doing these calls. I did 54 calls. They were all, 54 no's. And a lot of people would look and say, well, it's because these people don't have any money, or these people, aren't a good fit, or they'll look to an external reason as to why those people didn't buy from them. And I think it's very interesting that you brought up that it's like, listen, it was my own money story that was holding me back. It was my belief about sales. It was my inability or lack of skills at the time to be able to deal with people's objections, because objections are a normal thing. They're really just questions that people are asking because they need more certainty. And so people will fall into the trap of finding all these other reasons why someone didn't buy, other than it being their mindset. People tend to look at every other outside source as the reason, because that's hard work to internally look at yourself and say, this is because of me, and what is causing that, and how do I fix it? It's so much easier to blame it on something else that you're not in control of.
Exactly. And the truth is we all start at that place, but then we do have to be able to have the outside looking in sort of vantage point at ourselves and see how we're keeping ourselves stuck. I mean, it was the same for me. I was $30,000 in credit card debt and $90,000 in student loan debt when I started I Heart My Life. I had to ask my husband to use his credit card to pay for the first program I was a part of. And so frankly, if someone gives me the I don't have the money excuse, then I know there's something else going on beneath the surface and that we need to do some work there, because anyone can find the money. And when I go into my conversations with potential clients with that belief, I call it my rich grandma method, because I believe everyone has a rich grandma in their corner, whether the rich grandma is a credit card or a loan or a friend or whatever, there's always a way to find the money. When I go into my calls with that belief and recognize that I need to see my clients, my potential clients, as resourceful instead of putting any negative beliefs on them or seeing them as not capable, then everything changes. It's when we go on to sales calls believing people don't have the money and projecting our own money beliefs onto people that we don't make the sale, and no one benefits. The client doesn't benefit, you don't benefit, nothing good happens from that. But it starts with really working on yourself first, getting clear on your money blocks so that you can support other people in doing the same.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't make sales if you are feeling bad about asking people to spend money. Like it's just never going to work, no matter how great of an offer that you have. It just doesn't work like that. So you work with all women who want to be a coach, or they're already coaches. What would you say are like the top characteristics or that make for a good coach that's could have success in the online space?
Yeah. And just to clarify, we don't just work with coaches anymore. So we are a bit more broad than that, but we work with all female entrepreneurs. And the top traits that I see with all these amazing women is, number one, like I said, this attitude of I'm just going to go for it. And number two, it's that consistent action and that consistent, just consistency in general. And so, like I said, I personally went through 54 no's in a row. There's a lot of people that would probably have given up at that point. But when you believe that you are meant for something really big and you continue to hold strong and true to what you desire, then you keep moving forward. And so I think a lot of people, they do take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They allow their mind to get in the way and tell them they're not good enough, or they allow the fears to take over. But it's really about showing up, taking that consistent action. And then I think not being attached to how things happen. I think that we obviously make plans, we set goals, but there are times where we need to pivot, or there are times where things happen differently than we expected. There are times when things happen better than we expected. And so just being willing to consistently show up regardless of what's currently happening in your life, in your business, so that people see you, people see your products, people hear from you, and you're obvious about what it is that you're doing in the world.
Yeah, the flexibility and the pivot, I think, is really, really important, because sometimes when things aren't working out exactly the way you envisioned or the way you thought, or you don't reach a goal, it's easy to create a story, right, of like why that happened, or nobody wants my services, or I'm not any good at this. And it's very easy to create a story around that of what's keeping you from moving forward, or because you hit a roadblock. And being an entrepreneur and owning a business is all about being able to handle those challenges and be flexible and pivot. So it's really, really important trait for people to have if they're going to create a business of their own.
Yeah, I saw a post from someone I really admire the other day, and she said, "Why are you making hard equal bad?" And so often we think that if something's hard, then we've done something wrong, or we're doing a bad job. But I like to think about something being hard as preparing us for something. My husband and I always talk about how we have to qualify for the next level. And so with every challenge, there's a seed of either equal or greater benefit. That's Napoleon Hill. And so when you think about challenges as preparation, it completely transforms everything. And I used to think that I could kind of mindset or manifest my way to like a perfect business, that nothing would ever touch me and I would just keep going up and up and up and up. And I love that thought. And that's great that I can be in that positive space, but that's not actually the truth. And when challenges come in, that doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. Like I said, I've shifted it so that I know that I'm being prepared for something else. And that doesn't mean it doesn't suck and that it's not hard. But when you have that in your mind and you recognize that, it's important to make the present moment right, regardless of what's happening, then it will really help you move through it quicker and get the lesson.
Yeah, this is so funny. I was at an event once and we were talking about people who come into, say, the online space and they grow their business really fast, right? They have success quickly. And by quickly, I mean, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Most people can't go out and start a traditional business and it just be 6-7 figures, that fast. The online space allows you the opportunity to expedite things. But what happens is, I say it's like someone who won the lottery, but their mindset still lives in the trailer park, right? It's like you're still thinking from that other life, but now you have this newfound growth or business. And sometimes I love what you said. You said you have to qualify for the next level, and your business can only grow as much as your mindset is growing and how big of a problem you can handle, because bigger business means, new problems that you haven't experienced before. And it's really important to be able to look at those things. And like you said, why are you making, hard equal bad? That's just not the case. It's just part of business, and you've got to be able to go with that and up level if you want to continue up leveling your business. So love that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you said, I did hit 7 figures in my first 18 months, and so many people come to me and they want those sort of results. And obviously I'm not going to say that it's impossible because I did it, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself, do you really want those results? I mean, I was working 100-hour weeks. I was throwing myself into everything that I did. And so I think it's important for people to kind of peel back the curtains and really explain how they got where they got, because there's a lot of stuff you don't know. And if you're not playing the whole tape through and seeing the whole picture, you might think that you desire that level of success that quickly. But like you said, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. There's a lot of learning. And also you have to be consistently doing that work to up level yourself personally and up level your mindset to be able to handle that type of a business.
Yep. Absolutely. So power players set their goals high and then they put their full focus and energy on achieving them. So I'd love to know, Emily, what you're working on right now that has you excited.
So right now, at the time that we're recording this, we are working on our first big live event in San Diego in January 2020. And this is a total learning curve for me. I tend to throw myself into things and I like a good challenge. And so I'll be the first to admit that I'm learning pretty much everything in terms of filling the event, marketing the event, hosting the event. And so I'm super excited about this though, because we actually wanted to do this last year and we had to move it because we were relocating and had a lot of stuff happening in our personal lives. And it's been a vision for a while though, to have a huge group of incredible, like-minded women who believe that anything is possible in one room. And we have a whole group of incredible world-class speakers who I'm just pinching myself because I can't believe they said yes to our event. Will be gracing the stage, and I'm just so excited for that, and can't wait for it to come. But like I said, it has been a huge learning curve.
Wow. Well, you've done a lot of events in the past. I know you've done some intimate events with your masterminds and things like that. So is this event different for you just because it's on a larger scale, or how is it different?
Yeah, exactly. It's on a much larger scale. So the events that we've hosted in the past have been associated with our group programs, with our mastermind. So they've been smaller. And I mean, this is something that's like a 6-figure investment before you even make a sale.
Right.
That's being a little bit dramatic, but we have to spend money before you even get it back. And so there's a lot that comes up when that happens. I always say money is your coach. And so I'm being shown a lot of the ways in which I still need to lean in to my own money mindset work, and some of my own up levels have become apparent to me, and ways in which that I can grow. And that's definitely one of them, like having that trust and that faith that you will fill the room because you have to fill the room and you want to fill the room, but it's a little scary.
Well, so hopefully this episode is going to air before your live event. And so I'd love for you to share with our listeners two things. Number one, where can they learn more about the event if this airs in time? I think it's going to be cutting it a little close, but it might be fine. And then second of all, if for some reason it doesn't air in time and it's too late, where can they connect with you to learn more about your programs and other things that you have available to people?
Yeah, totally. So just go to iheartmylife.com. The event is iheartmylifelive.com, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it from the actual website as well. And it's going to be an annual event. And so if you don't make it this January, look for it next time, because it's going to be absolutely incredible. And then to work with us closely, we have tons of options. So we have amazing business accelerators if you're looking to grow your online business. We also have a monthly membership that combines mindset and strategy if you're just starting out. So tons of options for you to get the support that you need. We really believe in holistic success, which means we not only do the strategy, but we do the internal mindset work as well. That's really essential for you to go to the next level.
I love that. So for people who are listening, because I know we've got your people listening, is that they already have a business of some sort. Is that correct, Emily?
Not necessarily. So we have something called Startup that helps people start their business. And then we have something called Scale Up that helps people grow their business. And then our monthly membership is available for everyone to get that consistent monthly support as well.
Awesome. So whether you're new, getting started, you've got experience, Emily has got something for you. Hopefully this will air in time for you guys to attend our live event in January. And Emily, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. You talked about a lot of really important things that have to do with our mindset and the growing business and being in business, especially for a woman. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, because you were definitely part of the amazing success that I saw at the beginning. I remember we were getting Facebook ad leads for under $1, maybe like 70 cents or something.
That's crazy.
I'd love to go back to that time.
Yeah, 5 years ago when leads were much cheaper.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you, Adrienne, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emily.
Thanks for listening to Power Players in Business and Life. Be sure to click subscribe. To learn more about Adrienne, visit www.wearepowerplay.com. We'll see you next time.